What's up guys, it's Clown Fighter here. Today we're going to be looking at Mr. Tony Bellew. We're just going to go through a few things he said in a recent interview. So he talks here about Daniel Dubois and AJ, and he gives his thoughts on the chances he's giving Daniel Dubois. He does talk about Tyson Fury and Usyk as well, so I want to look at that. And yeah, he does talk about the Carfroch and AJ beef, so I want to just give my thoughts. I thought this was an interesting interview, so I'm just going to break it down and give you my take as well. So let's just go through it.
What chance to give Daniel Dubois against Anthony Joshua?
10% chance. No, that's being unfair. 80-20. No. 80-20.
So straight away, guys, Tony Bellew is giving Daniel Dubois initially a 10% chance to be AJ. Then he changes his mind and it goes 80-20%. What is my take on this, guys? As I said, I've already made a video just on a brief breakdown on my thoughts on Daniel Dubois versus AJ. Now, yes, you could make AJ the favourite for that fight, and if he comes in with the right mindset and he's locked in, then yeah, on paper AJ should win. However, guys, I do feel that a lot of people are writing Daniel Dubois off, and I think it's a lot closer than 80-20. You cannot write this Daniel Dubois guy off. The fact that Tony Bellew saying 80-20, I don't know, a lot of people probably will agree with Tony Bellew. Some things Tony Bellew says I do agree with, a lot of his stuff, but then some stuff he says I just can't agree with. Now 80-20% for Daniel Dubois to win against AJ is giving him a 20% chance. And let me show you how much delusion this is, in my opinion. When Francis Ngannou was supposed to fight AJ, a lot of people made Francis Ngannou the favourite. That's how crazy that fight was. Soon as AJ did what he was supposed to do to an MMA fighter, it's like everyone forgot about it and everyone's like, AJ's back. But let me remind you people, Francis Ngannou was an MMA fighter. He was supposed to get knocked out like that. Tyson Fury couldn't do the job. Tyson Fury's a clown. Tyson Fury's a fraud. I've exposed this guy so many times on my channel. Definitely check my playlists out. Check out my videos. You'll enjoy it. So, can I rate AJ's performance against Francis Ngannou? I give him credit for how quickly he finished the guy, but I can't give him no credit for actually he wasn't any sort of resilience or any sort of opponent that's kind of stuck it on him. If you go back before that, look at AJ's last opponent before that. You got a guy in Otto Wallin who, again, put nothing on AJ, tried to go forward, couldn't land anything. AJ just stuck it on him and beat him. Same guy, Otto Wallin, nearly beat Fury. Fury's the fraud who nearly lost to Francis Ngannou. So in my opinion, you've got to put Fury in a category of just pure shitness, and you can't even rate what AJ did to Otto Wallin or Francis Ngannou. Yes, I personally believe AJ would knock out Fury as well. Fury's not on that level that people think he is, so for that, I'm not discrediting AJ, but his last two performances against his two fighters were no threat to him. Let's go one before that, Robert Helenius. AJ got bloodied up in that fight. He struggled with Robert Helenius, but then eventually knocked him out. There was no... Even Robert Helenius actually stuck it on AJ, gave him a bit of a bloody nose. And AJ looked like he was struggling in the starting rounds. Now, you got a guy in Daniel Dubois who, guys, again... I will talk more about it, but people are writing this guy off way too much. I don't believe it's at 80-20%. I think Tony Bellew here is giving a bit of favouritism to AJ. A lot of people might agree with him here. He's only giving Dubois a 20% chance. That's crazy. Even myself, I'd probably give Dubois about 40% at least. Around 40%. If not, make it 50-50. But you could say about 40% to be on the right terms. But 20%, this guy's talking waffle.
In Anthony Joshua's favour. And the reason I say that, I don't just say that because I know Josh. I think Daniel's a brilliant fighter.
No, it ain't, mate. We know Tony Bellew loves Anthony Joshua. You can see the multiple count. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But just say it as it is. You do have favouritism to AJ. He's always like talking to AJ like AJ's his best mate. He's got a lot of respect for him. Fair play, but don't say it's not because you don't like AJ. How the hell are you giving Dubois a 20% chance? I don't know. Maybe some people are going to agree with this, but 20%, like, that's crazy. Look who Dubois has beaten, guys. He's beaten a good competition. He's beaten Hrgovic. AJ didn't even get to fight Hrgovic. He's beaten Miller. AJ didn't get to fight Miller. Not his fault, but he pulled out. He had a fight with Usyk. In my opinion, he should have won that Usyk fight with that body shot. AJ himself agrees that was a body shot. A lot of people say it's controversial. So in my opinion, Dubois' performance against Usyk was better than AJ's, even though he got stopped because he actually went for it, where AJ got outboxed. So I think Dubois' style is all wrong for AJ anyway. I would appreciate if this geezer just says it as it is, rather than him trying to make up excuses. But let's carry on.
He proved me completely wrong against Filip Hrgović. I thought he was phenomenal. But let's just weigh it up and what each fight is good at.
So he said he proved him wrong against Filip Hrgović. A lot of people wrote Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois was the underdog for Filip Hrgović as well. But again, he came out on top in that fight. There's a lot of fights where Daniel Dubois is actually the underdog, and people, I think even against Miller, I think Daniel Dubois was the underdog. I'm not 100% sure. But he's always coming out on top. So again, they put Daniel Dubois, the underdog, against AJ. I'm pretty sure is the underdog. Don't write this guy off, but let's carry on.
Everything that Daniel Dubois is good at, Anthony Joshua's just a bit better at. So he's a bit quicker. He's a fair bit stronger. Technically, he's ahead of him. His punch, the only thing I can say that he matches Josh on is his engine and work rate. He might have that slight advantage with the engine, but he only has that advantage because he punches not as hard as Josh, so the fights go longer, so he can show you his engine. Josh doesn't really get into fights that go long unless you're fighting the best heavyweight in the world, which we all know now is Alexander Usyk.
I agree with some of the stuff he's saying here, guys. AJ's probably got a bit more better due to the experience. In terms of the technicalities as well, you could probably edge AJ. However, I disagree with a few things. He goes he can only match AJ in his work rate and engine. I believe Dubois probably has a better engine than AJ in my opinion. It just depends what style AJ comes out with, because he's right. AJ's fights don't go too long. He usually knocks people out, but we have seen when it does go quite a long way, like as I said with Usyk, he seems to struggle a bit more. He does seem to get tired sometimes as well. I haven't really seen Dubois get too tired. He's been stopped, so fair play. But one area that he's not saying, he says Dubois can only match him in work rate and engine. What about power, guys? Dubois, a lot of fighters say Dubois is the hardest puncher they've faced. A lot of fighters say that. Who else said it, man? A lot of people say, I can't remember the fighter's name. Johnny Fisher says Dubois was one of the hardest hitters he's faced. I'm pretty sure Joy Joyce said himself Dubois hits very hard. Now, I'm not saying Dubois got exactly more power than AJ, but I think he can match him. Now, if Dubois hits AJ, in my opinion, what people are not looking at is, can AJ take these shots? Because we've seen what Robert Helenius did to AJ in the first couple of rounds. Look at AJ's face and look at his nose. It looked busted up. Now, he's right. Dubois got hit with a lot of right hands from Hrgović, which I'm pretty sure he's going to go on to. But Dubois' face was normal. He can take shots. I'm not saying you should do that against AJ. He needs to avoid that at all costs. But in my opinion, I think he's got a better chin than AJ. Yes, he's been stopped due to some eye socket injury where he thought he was going to go blind. But and then obviously he got dropped by Usyk. So a lot of people say Dubois is a quitter. People used to say that about AJ as well, but I believe that Dubois is on his come up the same way AJ is on his come up. It's a good fight, guys, but let's carry on.
So Josh just usually smokes you, or he doesn't really do 12 rounds. So I just think Daniel Dubois is a brilliant fight. He's proven me wrong on a couple of occasions now, but ultimately you cannot take 45 right hands and still be standing like he did against Filip Hrgović. He took 45 right hands in the first 5 rounds. You can't take 10 right hands off Anthony Joshua without waking up. That's not going to happen. So, you'll see.
So, okay, a lot of people are using this sort of thing. You cannot take these right hands off AJ. Who said he's going to take him off AJ? Hrgović has got this slick boxing style. In my opinion, Hrgović is a good boxer. He's not a good fighter. If you put it on him, he always gets hurt. Who put it on him? Zhang put it on him. And in my opinion, he should have lost that fight. Dubois started to put it on him. Eventually, the guy cracks. But I give it to him. He's a good boxer. He's a slick boxer. Am I saying he's a better boxer than AJ? In terms of boxing ability, It's hard to say. I'm not saying he's lower than AJ. In terms of an overall fighter, AJ is better than Hrgovic overall. But in terms of boxing ability, Hrgovic is up there. He's got good slick right hands, and you can't always predict when they come in. He was landing them on Dubois over and over and over again. Now, just because Hrgovic did it, don't think AJ is going to be able to do it. AJ is a completely different style to Hrgovic. Completely different. No way Dubois is gonna even go into the fight in the same way he's gone into the fight against Hrgovic. Dubois probably knew in the back of his head, I can probably take a few anyway to get to this guy. With AJ, the plan's gonna be don't take any. So it's gonna be a more cautious Dubois. He's gonna move his head a lot. He is not gonna stand there and take right hand after right hand. I don't believe it, guys. Don Charles's trainer won't let that happen. They ain't stupid. Don Charles used to train with AJ. He knows AJ's DNA inside out. With AJ, you gotta stay on the outside. You gotta break him down. They're not stupid. They're not gonna just go for it and take right hand after right hand. I don't believe they'll do that. Now, if they did do that, I agree with Tony Bellew. You cannot take that off AJ. So, do you think they don't know that? Of course they know. It's gonna be a slightly different game plan. They will come for AJ, but when they put it on AJ, maybe in the later rounds, mid rounds, what's going to happen to AJ when he starts getting hit with right hands? Because he only took a few right hands off Hellenius, a couple of jabs in his face. Look how busted up AJ's face was there. You're telling me if Daniel Dubois hits AJ, it's not harder than Hellenius. It's way harder than Hellenius. It's way harder than Otto Wallin. Francis Ngannou couldn't even land a punch. Dubois will land on AJ. What's going to happen to AJ then? Is he going to have PTSD again? Like Simon Jordan says. I'm going to go on to that. I'm going to do a breakdown of that. I don't usually agree with Simon Jordan, but sometimes, guys, I do want to show the other side where people are bigging AJ up too much. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like AJ. I do think he can win this fight, but I do think people are underestimating Daniel Dubois as well. The guy's young. AJ's on his way out. It's a good fight.
I told you all what would happen with Ngannou and Josh, because it's one thing getting hit by one fight, it's another thing getting hit by a genuine puncher. And when I say genuine puncher, that's what Anthony Joshua is. He is genuinely one of the biggest punchers the heavyweight division's seen in years, in decades.
So he's saying, I told you all what would happen between Ngannou and AJ. A lot of people did pick Ngannou for that win, but obviously AJ exposed what an MMA fighter should be. Why is Tony Bellew trying to use Ngannou as a guy as what AJ's done? This is the recent bias. People says, yes, AJ had a crazy performance against Ngannou. He knocked him out. But who is Ngannou in the boxing world, guys? Who has Ngannou faced? He beat Tyson Fury in whatever. He got robbed, and AJ beat him. All of a sudden, AJ is the best fighter because he demolished Francis Ngannou. I don't rate AJ for demolishing him. Not saying I don't rate AJ in general. I like AJ. However, I don't rate him beating a MMA fighter. There's no credibility in it. This is the recency bias everyone keeps bringing up. They think, oh, AJ's back. He's just killing people now. You beat fucking Francis Ngannou. Did AJ do that to Otto Wallin? Did AJ do that to Robert Hellenius? It took him a couple of rounds, and he even got hurt himself. You think Daniel Dubois is just going to take a right hand and go? Now, I could be completely wrong. That AJ could knock him out and it could prove me wrong. That's fair. But trust me, once Daniel Dubois gets into this fight, which I believe he will, and he starts sticking it on AJ is going to have some trouble in this fight. And again, do not be surprised if Dubois stops AJ. Do not be surprised.
And when he cops you clean, you just go night-night. Night-night.